All right, Dogs by Nature Rufio here, and today we're going to be taking a look at this film from the Steelers game. Now, obviously, not the kind of game Browns fans wanted to see. And, like many of you, I was particularly disappointed that this kind of game happened against our rivals, the Steelers. And it's been difficult for the past, 15 years, 20 years to look up to that team in the division and, feel like they've kind of got our number. And for me, what was frustrating was not so much that we lost this game, it was how we lost it. Just not even being competitive. And thankfully, I have the benefit of saying this with hindsight, but I think what I'm seeing from the film is that we shouldn't panic, right? This is not time to kind of hit reboot and, fire everyone in the franchise and gut the roster and start from scratch again. If we can only compete with this kind of team by putting, 11 Denzel Wards and Myles Garrett's on either side of the ball and just completely out-talenting the other team, we're never going to beat them because that's not how rosters work in the NFL. It's not how games are won in the NFL. The margins of victory are so thin that we've got to figure out a way to let our talent shine. And Pittsburgh was just clearly the more prepared team and the more polished team in this game. One of the things that I saw that kind of fed into that was, obviously we've invested a ton of time and really designed an entire offensive system around this play, which is outside zone. And we didn't run it enough against the Steelers. And, I obviously don't know exactly what our coaching staff was seeing from that, but we ran this play twice in the first quarter. We did run one play action off of this look as well, and that play action pass was successful, but this is our first run, this outside zone play, and we were, about midway through the first quarter here. So we did not really emphasize this play, and, when you're a young team like we are, and when you're newly together with new head coaches, new schemes on either side of the ball like we are, you just don't have a lot of practice reps built up in, a variety of different concepts. So it's likely that our roster is based around this concept, who we draft, who we get in free agency, who we choose to keep in free agency, and then also our scheme, right? Our offensive scheme, our practices, they're designed around these skills that our, offensive players use in this outside zone. And I really do think it's a strength of our team. And if we watch this play develop, right, this is classic Steelers defense. And we're able to still make positive yards, right? It's not a game-breaking run, but we get some nice blocks. We soften up the middle of this formation. And despite them having this extra safety in the box, Kareem Hunt is able to just kind of barrel down into, a moderate crease and get 4 yards on the play and keep us on schedule. While I can't get in the coaches' heads about why they didn't run this play more, I do know it's tougher to run against a 3-4 defense, which we can see from this end zone angle is what the Steelers historically have run. That's been their standard front since, the Dick LeBeau, Bill Cowher days for forever. So, in a 3-4 defense, we've got a nose tackle, zero technique lined up right over the center. And in this particular case, we're going to have these, what we call 4-eye techniques. So it's inside of the offensive tackles on either side of the formation. You've got your 2 outside linebackers and then 2 inside linebackers. And the outside linebackers, obviously with Watt and Dupree, these are kind of more your edge guys, right? Your pass rushing type guys. They tend to be bigger, built maybe more like a defensive end or a small defensive end. And then your inside linebackers tend to be your guys who are, more your traditional, Brian Urlacher, Patrick Willis type of linebacker. Now, the reason this play is kind of a bad scheme matchup against a 3-4 scheme is partially because of where these players are aligned, but it's also partially because of who these defenses tend to put on the field of these positions, and particularly that happens at the point of attack. So if we look at this outside zone play, Kareem Hunt's job on this play is to get a read, and you can see him making that read right now. He's making that of the end man line of scrimmage. And the coaching on this is always 1-2, 1-2. So what that means is the outside man on the end man on the line of scrimmage is 1, and then 2 is the next guy inside of him. And so the running back is coached to make a quick and decisive read as to how these players are playing and where to cut the play. Because as he's reading 1, he basically wants to see, is he playing out? So here, 90 TJ Watt is able to set the edge. and that's going to force the play to cut downhill. And so immediately, once you see that guy's helmet play outside, you're bringing your read into the next down lineman, and you need to make a cut off of him, either continuing to kind of peel the run back further and then looking for a soft spot kind of back here, or kind of cutting downhill between those two guys and trying to squirt out the front side of the play. Now, this is constantly the running backs, coaching is make the correct read on these two players. And then once you feel any kind of softness, holes, that you can cut into, cut off of those reads and just get downhill and get downhill hard. That is really the running back's job in this scheme. It's simple, and that's one of the reasons I think you're able to see backs who can play disciplined and take coaching with a little bit of speed. You need a little bit of burst, definitely, to play in this game, and the more burst you have, the better. But we've just seen this scheme turn so many different backs into 1,000-yard rushers. It seems like every week, this season, the 49ers are, new back is hurt, unfortunately, but they're just able to fill that roster spot, and whoever comes in does great. All right, if the job for the back on this play is to make a decisive read, the job for the lineman is to make that read clear for the back. They need to clarify this picture right in here at the point of attack to tell the back, there really is one option here. Don't hesitate. Don't pitter patter. Here's the hole. I'm going to make it for you. Follow me. Right. That's what these offensive linemen at the point of attack need to do. And so when 90 plays out, right, if he sticks here, you move him. Right. You seal him off and put your body in the way and turn him and get him and ride him to the sideline. Inside of him, if you are pinning 91 inside, so if we get the jump on 91, and Conklin here is a great kind of stiff arm technique, pushing 91 back into Hubbard. If he is going to be pinned inside, go pin him inside, right? This is a little muddy, in my opinion, where we're just kind of squaring him up and not really giving a Kareem Hunt a great read. And you would love to have that just clarified a little bit better. And you can see on the back end, we're able to do that a lot better right in here with JC and Joel Bitonio. JC plays up through the front side of this play, and Bitonio is able to kind of latch onto 94, and that read is clear, right? 94's helmet is backside, so I need to go to the front side of that block. Now, that said, if we rewind this and look to where these guys are pre-snap, we can see kind of why this is difficult. So, in this 3-4 defense, this 4-eye technique on this play, sometimes this guy is a 4 straight up with this offensive tackle. Sometimes this player is a 5 technique outside. But this picture becomes difficult because of where these two guys are. And not only because of where they are, but because of who they are, right? So this is Stephon Tuitt. He's one of the Steelers' best defensive linemen. He's a second-round pick, right? Here's T.J. Watt, first-round pick, elite all-pro talent. And honestly, maybe the Steelers' best defensive player. And we have, because of where we are in formation, we have a tight end that has to solo block T.J. Watt. Right? So, is this tight end, can we expect Austin Hooper, who, mind you, is here for his abilities in the passing game? Right? He's not a bad blocker. He's a good blocker. He's smart. He's tough. Is he a 280-pound monster? No, he's not. And in my opinion, that trade-off is worth it, right? Because we're going to get out of Hooper what we need in the passing game. That's where his skills really make a difference. We can name off the top of our heads, as probably every NFL fan, who the best receiving tight ends are in the NFL. Can we name the best blocking tight ends? I'm not really sure, and I think there's a reason for that. But on this particular play, right, when T.J. Watt goes to set that edge, we cannot expect Austin Hooper one-on-one to be able to ride T.J. Watt to the sideline. Hooper does a great job here of just latching on. You see Watt trying to throw him off and duck back in and go make a tackle here, and Hooper doesn't let it happen. He holds on for long enough that Hunt is able to run by and get his 4 yards, and that's a good job. We should give him, a credit for this on this play, but that's not a matchup where it's like a 350-pound guard bulldozing a guy. It's going to be this kind of block. And unfortunately, we don't really have the ability to help him, right? Because inside of him, we have the offensive tackle. But the offensive tackle has to work this combination with 91 because he's covered, right? 91 is over Jack Conklin, and he needs to work in combination with Hubbard, on that player. So we don't have an uncovered guy here that can help Hooper double team Watt and really get some movement there. So that's got to be a solo block, right? So that's number one. Number two is they have another guy here. And if they really want to, most of the time, this can be a 5 technique, and they can play outside. And all of a sudden, at a point of attack, we're almost automatically forcing that cutback, right? And if you watch my videos, you know it's not a cutback, it's a cut downhill. But they're forcing that cut to happen, and that is exactly where the Steelers have their players who they love making a lot of tackles, right? That's Bush's job in this scheme, is to have these guys in front of him occupy these blocks, eat up this space, and force the runner to cut back downhill into him. And he's the guy that makes a lot of tackles in this scheme. And that's why. That's how the running game works. It funnels people, away from these edges. These players that they have on the edges funnel the runner to these inside backers. And that's why you tend to see these guys pick up all these tackles running this scheme. So adding to that, this nose tackle is a tough player to cut. So if we can't stretch the front side, can we pin the backside in place, right? And that kind of creates that, horizontal displacement here going to our left, screen left, and then, to the screen right on this side of the defense. And if we could do that, we can kind of stretch them and pull them apart, and that creates running lanes. Well, when you have a zero technique, it's very difficult to cut them because, as we can see, we got to work this combination front side. So the center's going to come up and get the second level player, and then it's the backside guard who's got to make that cut block. So here, maybe Bitonio could cut there and do a little bit better job of stringing this play back further, and to get some of these cuts on the backside would be really beneficial. With the Steelers playing the 4-eye, cutting him becomes very difficult for Jed as well. As you can see, he's already kind of got that leverage to start the play. And then with the Steelers, you can see they're going to play in this froggy stance, right? This four-point stance here with both hands on the ground. And you can see that they're not really heavy forward leaners, right? You look at Hayward's hands here. He's not really leaning forward over those hands, getting off the ball, getting downfield. So those hands are going to be ready if the cut block comes to just shove, our players down, and they just hop right over that cut block and then, tackle our back for a loss in the backfield. And that's no good either. So with these 3-4 teams, they tend to play this grabbier style. It's not really a penetrating style. It's a, grab the offensive lineman to try to control them and kind of do some hand fighting in there. So cutting them is really difficult, right? Because they're not overly aggressive headed into the backfield. Now, the other thing on this play that I will say is that while it is a scheme, bad matchup in terms of scheme, I do believe that this is a good matchup for our personnel. So this is a kind of difficult thing for a coach to weigh where, there's that kind of negative factor to running this play, but there's also a positive one. And the positive one is that I think our linemen are, generally quicker than Pittsburgh's linemen are. When it comes to straight ahead power and just shoving them off the ball, I don't think we win that matchup, with our front five. But I think when it comes to running sideline to sideline, having athleticism, I think we win that. Obviously they have some studs at the outside linebacker position, but I think on the inside especially, Pittsburgh has some vulnerabilities there, and if we get them moving side to side, we can at least pick up something. All right, so I want to bring out the other time we ran this outside zone play in the first quarter against the Steelers, and yes, there were only 2. This one is, much later in the first quarter, so if we go 8 or 9 minutes between running outside zones, to me, that's maybe a little too long. Obviously, easy to criticize that in hindsight. And then, of course, in that first quarter, we did have some big turnovers. And so that kind of took the ball out of our hands, and it took the opportunity away to run some of these plays. So, you got to be fair with that. But, this iteration of this play just really illustrates to me that we're in different spots as an organization. The Steelers have been together for a while, right? They have that one thing that as Browns fans, we've always, wanted and yearned for, which is continuity, right? They've been able to build year after year on their system, build chemistry between the players. They've gone through together. They've seen it all together. They know the adjustments. They know every, tweak to the scheme that they could possibly, need to know. And they've been running these same schemes. They've had the same coaches for so long. And that's just the way this organization does these things. And I think it really allows them to gel as a team and to get the most out of the talent that they have on hand. So, for me, this play kind of illustrates that. I mean, look, they're seamlessly going from a 3-4 defense into, four down defense. And their same people are able to just switch looks on us in mid game. And I don't think we were as ready as we needed to be for all the looks that we were going to see, right? And that's another disappointing thing about this particular iteration of the outside zone play. As we can see, we get the running back hit in the backfield, dodge one tackle, and then get hit in the backfield. And anytime we have that, something's screwed up in the scheme, because this is a scheme where we should not have our running back get touched until he at least gets a line of scrimmage. So, while they're able to adjust and throw a lot of different looks at the offense and do some complicated things, or things that at least appear complicated to an offense, we're not there yet, right? We've had one COVID-shortened offseason. Baker's had, 4 head coaches and 3 offensive coordinators in 3 years. Like, they've had no time to really cook and gel together in a system. And also, if you look at it, right, new starter replacing a new starter, that's a new starter. This is a new starter, right? I mean, I guess, actually, my bad. That's Bryant. That's not Hooper, but Hooper's a new starter. So, how many players do we have that are new, and we don't have the same amount of chemistry. So on this play, something happened. We weren't ready. You can see pre-snap, right? Baker and JC are talking. They're communicating the line calls. I don't think something got passed down. Baker sets Harrison in motion, and he goes in this little short motion. And something about this to me just is odd. Something about this a little fishy, because this kind of motion, it would happen generally to insert Harrison Bryant through this C gap here. It could also be him acting like he's going to insert into this C gap on a running play and then run out for a play action, or kind of run forward and back on a play action. Or another reason to kind of cheat him in is because he's going to slice back across the formation and kick out on the other side. And when that happens, generally it's going to be zone blocking away from him, right, with these linemen going to our left. So something about this motion feels off, and then what happens after the play definitely feels off. So, we locate something over here. We see that safety, walk down to the box here, and we get JC pointing out and making a call and pointing at that safety. We don't know exactly what that call is or what it's going to mean, but my guess is that they needed to relocate, who they're going to block, and then move up to the play side of this zone play. Because Jed out here he can kick out the in-man line of scrimmage, but he can't block both those guys. And then as we see in the combinations, JC and Bitonio here are blocking Hayward, and they come off to go get Edmonds, the safety. And that feels like that's what they had called, is we're going to go get that safety, and they needed to bring these backside guys one player further down the line. So if we go back a combination, we've got Hubbard and Conklin working on Tuitt here, and they would then go double teaming this to up on 98. And really that's going to be that kind of stiff arm technique by Hubbard, just kind of leaving that backside hand, and he's got to work up to the play side very quickly, because look at how much ground he has to make up to go get 98. And then meanwhile, that could make sense if Harrison Bryant then is supposed to motion into this C gap and then just go leak up and try to block 55 solo. So he could come up and locate there. And Njoku kind of blocks the most dangerous between these two players on the backside. But in Njoku, we can also see kind of let's walk go as the in-man line of scrimmage. That's not totally uncommon. But the fact that he then looks play side and doesn't know who to get between 20 and 55, we've got guys blocking no one, right? And that's a problem. We've got a guy blocking no one there. Harrison Bryant here tries to get on the combination with 91. He's looking at the back in the backfield. Something is going on there. We don't know what's happening. And I really honestly have no idea where Bryant is going on this play. So, things got screwed up here, right? And maybe this was because Pittsburgh was able to throw a look at us and we weren't prepared for. But if we're really basing our offense around this outside zone running scheme, we should be able to have these communications down pat, right? We should be dedicating our practice time to figuring out what kind of weird looks, that opponents could give us that could give us trouble, and how we're just going to quickly and intuitively get our guys to the right guys. And that is a very, very difficult job. It seems easy. It looks easy from this all 22 angle, right? When I can sit from my couch and kind of see everything. But to these guys who are down there, they're the only guys that really matter. And to a guy like Conklin right now, all he sees is Tuitt and Bush and Watt. That's all he can see. He can't see anything else that's going on out here. He can see maybe some shadows and some shoes, but you can't fully locate that, oh, they're in this front and the safety's down and all that. So this kind of pre-snap communication here that we're doing, it has to really hit home and it has to be effective, and it has to bring us to the right people. And this is just an instance of this play where, again, staying on schedule is very important for us. And if we get hit in the backfield and there's a no gain or a 2-yard loss, as there is in this play, we can't have that, right? I mean, there's an unblocked linebacker headed straight for Kareem Hunt in this play. Like, that's not going to lead us to a successful running game, which is what we want to base our offense around. In this game, I thought what I saw was the coaches, running a lot of the other run plays that we've kind of put in, and we got a little spread thin, right? We became a little jack of all trades, master of none, in terms of not being able to run our mainstay play against everything that we were going to see. All right, so that's a bit of a downer, and I'm an optimistic person. Obviously I'm a Browns fan, and I have been for quite some time, and I haven't given up. So I truly believe that we're going to get this thing rolling. And I don't think that's just blind optimism either. It's plays like this that remind me that we still have the talent on this team to succeed. It seems like we're really building something here. And it's plays like this that keep me believing that. So here we have, a play action pass. And this is, Baker's pocket wasn't this clean all day. Watt in particular seemed like he knew the snap count and was in our backfield every play. That's something definitely to clean up. But when we do give him time, this is a play action pass with 2 players in the route. The Steelers have 7 in coverage, okay? And with that, we are still able to, on time, on target, throw this ball to Odell from the opposite hash, okay? Our ball is on the opposite hash, and we're throwing an out-breaking route, on time, on target, pinpoint to the opposite hash, and that is the only place, that's a place where only Odell could get it, right? Look at that. Beckham toeing the sideline. Look at that ball placement, okay? Now, this kind of throw, especially, it's under, I know it's not a 60-yard bomb, but it is underrated the distance that this throw has to travel in the air, specifically the horizontal distance, right? And when you're watching this on TV, this might not look like that long of a throw. I mean, he's just picking up 12 yards here. But looking at the distance that pass has to travel and where it is located, I mean, that kind of accuracy is what keeps me believing in Baker as a quarterback. And it just goes to show, when we give him a clean pocket, give him time to operate, he can make things happen. So, let's not overreact to this loss. And I do have the benefit of saying that after the Bengals game, so I know we're 5-2 at this point. But Browns fans, we're 5-2. That's something to celebrate. But let's continue to enjoy this team every Sunday, especially conditions, in the world, what they are right now. It's been a welcome distraction for me, and I hope for you as well. All right, so as always, if you made it this far, hope you enjoyed the content. Please, like and subscribe. Just help the videos get seen by more people, build our channel a little bit. And as always, the real conversation is happening at dogsbynature.com. Leave a link in the description down below. Make sure to join us there. I'd be happy to try to answer any questions you have, or just cheer on the Browns along with you. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. I'm Rufio, and we'll see you in the next one.